Welcome to Asked and Answered, the podcast. I'm Michaela Paulkner, legal reporter at the Wisconsin Law Journal. My guest today is Cheryl Daniels, the new president-elect of the State Bar of Wisconsin. Attorney Daniels joined me for a Zoom call to discuss her impact on the State Bar's leadership team and her goals during her tenure. And what do you see as some of the biggest issues that the State Bar faces in the next 1 or 2 years?
I think as we look at what is happening with the pandemic, we are looking at the issues, number one, of the health well-being of the membership generally, the financial well-being of the membership, and then that comes into then the well-being of the organization as a whole and the financial well-being of the organization. It has to remain on a solid footing in order to be able to do all the work on behalf of the members. We don't really know where things are going in the next 1 or 2 years. The bar is going to have to be nimble enough to deal with the fact that everyone is looking at financial stresses over the next year. So in 2 years, I think that's just something we're going to have to deal with. And for example, the leadership already, this is before I even took office, had already decided to not implement a $4 dues increase that it had originally decided to do, even though it had a very lean budget. And that's just because, yes, it's only $4, but in times like these, with everyone kind of stressing in terms of all the issues, it was just one more thing that they just didn't need. So the bar is learning to, is running with its reserves. Next year, we're going to have to deal with those issues. But covering that, we're still dealing with the whole issue of the well-being of the bar as a whole. Interestingly enough, the Chief Justice had already put together a wellness task force that it wanted the bar to work on, or it asked the bar to put together a wellness task force, which was just going to be started. I think as the next 1 or 2 years are unfolding, that task force is going to have a lot of work to do to deal with how do we deal with the changes that are going to come, the pivoting every time, if there are hot spots in the state, how do we help the lawyers in those particular areas? Do we have times that we're going to be in our offices, but not and then other times that we're not going to be in our offices because of this? So, we're going to have to be much quicker on like I said, moving to sort of kind of in the same way that the country has to deal with the fact that we're going to have to deal with the, flare-ups, outbreaks, things like that, we're going to have to deal with that as well. I think it's absolutely necessary. It's always necessary, but I think in times like these now, it's especially necessary that people feel that they can talk about the issues that they are. I can't promise that there are things that we're going to be able to do, fix every problem that comes up. But it gives us a way as we look at it and we see, questions or concerns over and over again, then we really know that we have particular issues that we need to definitely get a group together and think about, whether it's a committee, one of the task forces or whatever. I don't want to predispose. That's why I didn't run on the idea that I had a task force, a new one in mind. The 3 that are going forward are really very important ones, but we don't want to forget other issues, whether they're substantive issues that people have, procedural issues that need to be addressed. And the courts have been addressing them on an ongoing basis with the new Supreme Court orders that have been coming up all the time. How do we work remotely? How do we deal with things remotely? How do we do all this work? But then as we transition back, how are there procedures that we're going to need to work on? Or what are we going to need to do as we transition back into opening the courts, into opening businesses, into opening offices? We're going to need to work together on those issues. Right. No doubt about it. So that's what we need to listen. It isn't just these other, these big issues, but also the everyday issues we want to hear about, so that we make sure that we address them or help to address them or bring them forward to the people, whether it's the courts, the legislature, the administration, or whatever, so that we work together to try to find solutions. I hope that people who are listening will know that they have a place and people who will listen to them in their leadership.
For more of this conversation, visit wislawjournal.com.